Welcome to the very first video of Style of Play. Myself, T, as always. I've been trying to get these videos out for a while now, so apologies because this is actually the first one. I know I said previously that we were going to have a lot more videos. Obviously, I'm running multiple channels at the moment, so I'm trying to get these ones done. But I thought no better place to start than Liverpool. Before we get into Liverpool's game last night, please go and subscribe to this channel. Give me your thoughts in the comments as well. Let me know what you think about all the games that we're going to be previewing over the next couple of weeks and months. But I want to start with Liverpool, who played Rangers last night in the Champions League. It was a massive game for both teams. Obviously, Liverpool haven't started their season very well, and in domestically, and also Rangers, who technically have actually played really well domestically in their the Scottish Premier League. They're second, just a bit below Celtic as well. But I thought going into this game, I did think we were going to see I don't know, something maybe more so from Rangers. I thought they set up. I mean, they set up with a 5-4-1, very defensive going in, as you would expect against a very dominant and high pressing, counter-attacking, fluid Liverpool team. And they've done really well for in some aspects, but it was very, very defensive, very part the bus. Morelos was very sort of isolated, going up, forward and going up front on his own. Very a frustrated figure. But I do want to talk about the two teams that obviously the lineups was Alisson, the usual TRENT, Alexander-Arnold, Joel Matip, Virgil van Dijk, Tsimikas, Jordan Henderson, who I thought had a really good game. Again, someone who gets really, heavily criticised and unfortunate to come off. Very frustrated figure coming off in the second half as well. But I thought Thiago, again, brilliant player for Liverpool. Mo Salah, Diego Jota, Luis Diaz and Darwin Núñez up front for Liverpool. Brilliant team, brilliant lineup. They needed that performance after the Brighton draw at the weekend as well. Losing the 3 points as they did from a Trossard hat-trick at the weekend, it was always going to be expected for Liverpool to come in and to get that kind of out of their system. This game probably came round very quickly for them, which is, when you feel like you've lost a game, even albeit a draw at the weekend, you want the next game to come round as quick as possible to get that out your system. And it was easy for Liverpool. The first half, I thought they played really well. Darwin Núñez had maybe 3 or 4 chances in the first half to at least score. Very early on, he had a brilliant chance, turn and swivel. And McGregor, the goalkeeper for Rangers, Alan McGregor, I think he's 40, he played over 150 games for Rangers in Europe. I thought he was brilliant in goal. I think he kept the scoreline down to 2-0, if we're going to be 100% honest. Liverpool had multiple opportunities in the first half to score. And obviously Trent, who's been criticised heavily over the last couple of weeks, especially for England, and being sent home early by Gareth Southgate ahead of the Germany game. I think he did have a lot of criticism, and I think it's fair criticism. I think Trent's been underperforming defensively. You look back to the Brighton game, previous games that Liverpool have played in as well. Something hasn't been clicking with Trent, whether it's a fitness thing or a fatigue, or he's just not good defensively, which in my opinion he isn't. He's not for me your typical right back. He's not a Reece James, a Carl Walker, Kieran Trippier. He's not one of those sort of players that will get back and defend as well as some of the other players that I've just mentioned. But he is definitely a player that going forward, you want in your team. He knows how to pick out a pass, and of course he's a dead ball specialist. We got to see the free kick that he's capable of performing at that level, and delivering those sort of free kicks as well. We've left McGregor no option, no opportunity to save the ball, and it was a brilliant free kick. I think that's sort of what he needed to maybe get a bit of that confidence back, which he seems to have lost over the last couple of weeks, not just for Liverpool but also when he's played for England as well. So I thought that was a really good performance from Trent. Arguably probably the man of the match for the game if it wasn't for McGregor as well, letting in those 2 goals. But let's talk a bit about Rangers as well, because I feel like Rangers coming into the game, obviously they had a really difficult game against Ajax as well, and I think they've also played Napoli, which are 2 tough big European giants to play in terms of the stature that they bring as well. But I thought Rangers held their own. I thought they'd done really well. As I said, it was an annihilation in the first half from Liverpool. They had loads of chances to score goals, and they just never took them as well as they should have. I thought in the second half they did get into the game. I thought Ryan Kent again, really good player. Showed signs that he was able to go forward, but instead of going forward, his first intentions was either to go backwards or to pass sideways to Lundstrom or to Stephen Davis, which at times I think as a Rangers fan that potentially would have frustrated you. I think they should have treated that game almost like a cup match and just gone for it. And I think, the second half, there was some of the subs that came on for Rangers. Sakala, I think, was one of the main guys that came on, and he sort of changed the game. I think he had a really good opportunity, and Tsimikas cleared the ball off the line for Liverpool. But, you can't really fault Rangers for the way that they set up. They obviously came in and with their intentions to try and snatch a 1-0 or get a point at least at the most, from the game. But it was all Liverpool. And as I say, Darwin Núñez, Luis Diaz, it just showed the quality and the difference in Rangers, and no disrespect to any Rangers fans or the club itself, but it just showed the level of quality that Liverpool have on their day. They are a brilliant team. We know that already. I do still question the depth in their squad. They brought on obviously Firmino for Diego Jota, which I thought was a brilliant sub. But you do look at the likes of James Milner, who's still coming on. Yes, he played relatively okay when he came on yesterday, but you do have to question going forward Liverpool's quality and depth that they do kind of lack in some areas, especially in the midfield. 1 or 2 injuries this season could see them potentially losing out on some of those crucial matches that they're going to need to win. But they look like they're cruising in the Champions League. It was a brilliant performance from them. Standout plays maybe for Rangers, I'd probably have to say Connor Goldson, who I thought was really good. I thought he had a relatively good performance in defence. He had 2 youngsters or maybe less experienced players alongside him in that back 3. James Tavernier expected a bit more from, because I know he loves to play in these sort of games. He loves to normally get stuck in as well. Same with Lundstrom, who I thought was relatively poor, a couple of missed passes, and the early yellow card I think hindered his game. He didn't really want to keep going in for those challenges, and I think at one point during the game he ended up being part of that back 3, which I felt suited him a bit more. He was able to control the game a bit more from the defence as opposed to being in midfield. But I think Rangers going back to Ibrox next week will be a brilliant game for them. They definitely show qualities, especially in that second half, that they can actually take it to Liverpool. As I said, I think some of the subs that Van Bronckhorst made were brilliant. I think a bit too little too late. I think maybe earlier on in that second half, if you'd brought them on, it might have given them a chance to even snatch a goal and take a bit more confidence back into that game at Ibrox in a week or so. But I do think Liverpool now, they're finding their stride slightly, especially in the Champions League. We have to look at Napoli, I think, separately in another video. But, Napoli look like the team that is going to run riot in that group. But you do look at Liverpool, they are one of those teams that will churn out those results. And I think that's what, as we've seen before, winners have to do that. They have to churn out results. They have to get those performances in. But I just want to spend some time before we wrap up this video and talk about some of the games that are coming up tonight as well. So we have got, of course, Chelsea, who will be playing AC Milan. It's the first time, I think, competitively that these two have met at Stamford Bridge since 1999. Obviously, the likes of Gianfranco Zola were playing for Chelsea at the time as well. It's going to be a difficult game for Chelsea because obviously Graham Potter coming in, it's a whole new world for him. He obviously hasn't managed in the Champions League before. I felt Chelsea done okay against RB Salzburg, but there are still signs that Chelsea, especially looking back to the Crystal Palace game at the weekend, they didn't really take their chances, and that's been the story of Chelsea for the last 12, 18 months, that they just don't take their chances, and we got to see a lot of that at the weekend, and especially under Thomas Tuchel prior to that as well. But I think Graham Potter has to get this right tonight, because back-to-back AC Milan games is going to be very difficult for Chelsea, and I think if they don't win these 2 games, the likelihood is they will be going into the Europa League, or at worst they'll be coming out of the European competition altogether. So I think Graham Potter has to get this right. There's obviously talk about Kante coming back into training. I think it's too early for him to even make the bench. Jorginho was injured and came off injured against Crystal Palace. There's doubts about whether he'll start, so you do have to question who Graham Potter will go with in the midfield tonight as well. Do you go for the DM of Trevor Chalobah, or do you have a pivot of, I don't know, Kovacic and maybe Ruben Loftus-Cheek with maybe another two. Ahead of that of Kai Havertz and maybe Conor Gallagher, who performed really well against Crystal Palace, with the forward two of Raheem Sterling and Patrick Aubameyang. So we're going to have to see how that works out for them. Obviously, Kepa should keep his place. Thiago Silva, I would expect to see starting at defence alongside Koulibaly, who we know has got the experience against Serie A teams. And it's obviously the return of Olivier Giroud and Tomori, ex-Chelsea players coming back to Stamford Bridge again. So it'll be interesting to see how that one pans out. We've got another big game. I mean, this one is a big game for me. This is going to be Benfica and Paris Saint-Germain, who I think Benfica at home do really well. I think there could be an upset there. I think, obviously PSG are the front runners, the Mbappe, Messi, Neymar, just to name the stars in that team. But PSG sometimes in Europe don't have the best record away from home. So I do think Benfica are a dark horse to potentially get something out of that game. I also think about Real Madrid and Shakhtar Donetsk, who, Shakhtar Donetsk, I always think going through to these European games, they're always the dark horse. They're always the ones that can throw a curveball into to results and performances. And I think Shakhtar tonight, if you're a betting person, they are 10-1 to beat Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. And I do think they can do that. I think they can definitely at least sneak a draw at most, but I think they can go on to win that game at 10-1. I might be crazy, but that's the bet I would be doing tonight if I was a betting man, which I am. So I will be doing Shakhtar Donetsk. But I do want to look at RB Leipzig and Celtic as well. Another massive game, another Scottish team involved. It's going to be interesting how they work their game. I mean, obviously Celtic haven't had the best of run in their group as well, in Group F. Neither have RB Leipzig, who are both, Leipzig is sitting on 0 points and Celtic only have 1 point. But it's a game where I think, again, both teams will need to come out of this one and hopefully perform well and get the result there. Again, Celtic away from home doesn't always fill me with joy, but stranger things have happened. Leipzig are a very good team. Obviously, Timo Werner's gone back there now. If I was a betting man, I'd probably put my money on Timo Werner to score the first goal. I don't know what the odds are, but definitely check that one out as well, because I think it will be a very good game as well in Germany. So I think those are the main games that I would look out for if I was looking for anything to watch tonight. Obviously, we've got a couple of championship games as well. I think the key standout one for me, just looking on the iPad now, I would probably go for... I think I'd go for Middlesbrough and Birmingham City. Obviously, Chris Wilder lost his job a couple of days ago. It's not been the best ride for Middlesbrough at the moment. They are currently sitting 22nd in the championship at the moment. Birmingham not doing that well either, but they're 16th in the league. So I think Birmingham have a point to prove here. Managerless Middlesbrough going into a game which is going to be difficult for both clubs. I think that would be the one for me. But of course, I think the one that is currently on Sky Sports tonight will be Huddersfield. Not Huddersfield. It'll be Preston versus West Brom. That's been shown on Sky Sports tonight. So I think, again, another good game. Again, two teams that are slightly struggling at the bottom end of the championship as well. I think you look at West Brom, one win in 11. It's not good enough for a team of West Brom, who we know, and they've been dubbed the yo-yo club, who tend to bounce back from relegation in the Premier League back into the championship and back out of the championship into the Premier League. They're struggling. They're at the very bottom of the championship after one win in 11. It's not very good. And Preston as well, again, a team that is currently 15th in the championship, but they're not doing as well as they should be. That'll be an interesting one as well. So if you're not a European fan and you want to watch some domestic football, the only other option is to watch Preston versus West Bromwich Albion tonight. Kickoff is at 8 o'clock alongside all the European games as well. But as I said, we're going to try and get this video channel up and running. We're going to get as much subscribers as possible, so make sure you click that subscribe button, get that like button. Let me know your thoughts as well in the comments about what we've discussed. Am I being too harsh on Trent Alexander-Arnold? Do you think that he is actually a good defender? Let me know your thoughts in the comments as well, and give me your predictions ahead of the games going into today's games as well. Let me know your thoughts. This has been T from Style of Play Football. As I said, we're going to get these videos going up and up, more content going. Going to get a couple of guests on as well. So if you're involved in football, you want to jump on, let me know as well. Let me know, and we'll get you on as a guest as well. Style of Play Football. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, stay safe and wait for another video.